Some people talk about if the Bible says the earth is flat because of certain words it uses. But to really understand what the Bible is saying, we need to think about how people saw the world a long, long time ago when it was written. The very beginning of the Bible, in the first 2 chapters of Genesis, starts off with some big ideas. It uses words like earth, heavens, and firmament, and even talks about pillars of the earth. At first, these words might make us think of the world in a simple way. But actually, these words meant something special to the people back then. To understand what the Bible's writers were really talking about, we have to try and see the world like they did. They didn't mean for us to think the earth was flat just because of these words. They were using the language they had to share really big and important ideas about the world and everything in it. Thank you for continuing to watch this video. And please don't forget to subscribe and support my channel. And click the like button and also post your comments. This will help in taking the love of Jesus to this world. The Bible was written a long time ago, and the way it talks about things isn't always meant to be taken literally, like a science fact. For example, the Bible mentions pillars holding up the earth in some verses, but it doesn't mean big stone columns are actually under the ground, keeping the planet up. It's more like a beautiful way to say that God is taking care of the earth and making sure everything stays put. Kind of how pillars can keep a roof from falling down. The Bible isn't really talking about what the earth looks like. It's trying to tell us that God is looking out for everything. And when you hear about the 4 corners of the earth in the Bible, it's not saying the earth is shaped like a square table. The Bible uses words and images that people back then could understand easily, like a simple drawing that helps explain something complicated. Talking about corners or ends of the earth is just a way to say everywhere or all directions. Not that the earth actually has edges or corners where you could fall off. In another part of the Bible, Revelation 20:7-8, it talks about angels at the 4 corners holding back winds, which is a symbolic way of talking about all directions. Some people think the Bible says the earth is flat because of stories like one in Daniel, where a dream shows a tree that everyone on earth can see. But this story is really about King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, not about the earth being flat. Dreams, especially in biblical times, were often seen as vehicles for metaphorical or spiritual messages rather than factual descriptions of the physical world. Also in the book of Matthew, there's a part where Satan shows Jesus all the kingdoms of the world from a tall mountain. Some say this means the earth must be flat if you can see everything from one spot. But this story is more about the challenge or test Jesus faces, not about proving the earth is flat. In another book, in Luke's version of this story, Luke doesn't even mention a mountain, which suggests what Jesus saw was more like a special vision, not something he literally saw with his eyes. This tells us these parts of the Bible are trying to teach us lessons about life and right and wrong, not about the earth's shape. Some folks think the earth is flat because of what they read in the Bible. They see verses where it talks about the earth being fixed and immovable and think that means the earth doesn't move. Like in some parts of the Bible, it says the earth is set firmly and can't be moved, and they take that to mean it's flat and sits right in the middle of everything. But when people say the earth is fixed and immovable, it doesn't mean it can't spin around the sun. It's more like saying the earth is steady and stays in its orbit around the sun. We don't feel the earth moving under our feet. It seems still to us. This doesn't mean the earth isn't moving, it's just doing its thing in space, going around the sun without us feeling it shake or move. It's kind of like being on a train. When you're sitting inside a train, you feel like you're not moving even though you're actually traveling pretty fast. So even though the earth moves in space, to us standing on it, it feels like it's not moving at all. The word firmament comes from an old Hebrew word rakia, which means something like a big, open space or sky. Think about when you look up at the sky and see how huge it is. That's what rakia is all about. People a long time ago thought of it as a giant dome or arch stretching over us, kind of like a huge tent above the earth. They even thought it was made by hammering it out really thin, just like you could hammer gold into a thin sheet. So when they talked about the firmament, they were picturing this big, wide-open sky above us that separates our world from where God lives. In the very beginning part of the Bible, in Genesis, when it talks about creating the firmament, it's actually talking about making this huge open sky and then calling it heaven. The interesting thing is that the original words used back then don't mean it was a solid thing like a metal dome. It was more about the idea of the wide open space or sky above us. If you want to know even more about what firmament means, especially in the story of Genesis, I made a whole video about it called "What is a Firmament in Genesis?" You can check it out for more details. Even before the big learning wave called the Renaissance, smart people and famous thinkers were sure the earth was round. Big thinkers like Thomas Aquinas, Aristotle, Eratosthenes, and Ptolemy all understood that our planet was shaped like a ball. And this idea wasn't a secret. A lot of educated people knew this too. People also say the church was against science and wanted everyone to think the earth was flat. But that's not true. Back in those days, many religious people and church leaders knew the earth was round and were totally okay with this idea. For example, Aquinas, who was super smart about both God and science, didn't see any problem with believing the earth was round. He thought it made complete sense with his faith. Then there were these two guys, Draper and White, who got things a bit wrong. They said the church was against science and made it tough for scientists. They even told a story about Christopher Columbus having to argue with flat earth believers to go on his big adventure. But actually, most smart people back then knew the earth was round. They were just worried about how far Columbus would have to sail, not about the earth's shape. Columbus's story has been told in a way that makes it seem like he was the only one who knew the earth was round, but that's not true. Columbus didn't set out to prove the earth was round. His voyages were more about finding new lands and understanding the world's geography better. Now, there's also the story of Galileo, who had a bit of a disagreement with the church. But they weren't arguing about the earth being flat. Galileo had seen things through his telescope that made him believe everything, including Earth, goes around the sun. The church didn't like that because they believed everything went around the earth. Galileo was forced to recant his views, and he got into big trouble, but not because he thought the earth was round. The issue was more about how the earth moves in space. So if someone tells you that the earth was flat because the Bible says so, then that's not really right. The truth is much more interesting and shows how people have always been trying to learn more about our big, round earth step by step. Thank you for watching. Please post what you think in the comments. Also, please don't forget to subscribe and support my channel and click the like button. This will help in taking the love of Jesus to this world. You can also browse through my other videos in this channel that may be of interest to you.